Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for joining today's workshop. Now this is going to be a 5-week workshop series for AD Manager Plus, and this is week number 1. Once again, let me all thank you for setting some time apart amidst your busy schedule. So I hope that these workshop sessions will be very helpful for you in order to better use the application and manage Active Directory effectively. Now, I said that this is going to be a 5-week workshop, and week number 1 we will be focusing on a specific topic pertaining to AD Manager Plus, and that is we will see how to create user accounts in Active Directory. Now we are going to create user accounts in Active Directory through AD Manager Plus, and which means we are going to minimize the usage of PowerShell scripts. We are going to minimize the usage of VB scripts or any other complex methodologies. Alright, so that's going to be the core focus of our today's session. Template and CSV based advanced Active Directory user provisioning techniques. Alright, so let me quickly introduce myself before diving into the session. My name is Vivin Satyan, and I am the pre-sales consultant for the AD Solutions group here at Manage Engine. Alright, so I will be the presenter for today's session. So today's topic, the topic that we are going to focus on is going to be, so we'll start by creating a simple account in Active Directory, and we'll see how to create user accounts with just minimal information that is given to you by the HR. Something like the user's first name, last name, and maybe the password attribute. So how do you create user accounts in Active Directory with that? And the next important topic is I will be discussing about 360-degree user provisioning. Now, what do I mean by 360-degree user provisioning is exactly this. So we create an AD account, we enable Exchange for the same account, we enable Office 365 and Link from a single console. That's the best part here. So we are not going to toggle between multiple windows unlike the native tools. For instance, if you need to create an account with Exchange, Office 365 and Link using the native tools, I'm pretty sure that you'll have to toggle between at least 4 windows in order to provision one user account. So that's going to be a hectic task. So in order to avoid all that, so we are going to see how to create user accounts using one single very simple console. And then we will be seeing how to actually standardize naming formats for user accounts. So why do you need to have a standard format for all the user accounts? Just to make sure that all your user accounts follow a uniform structure, naming structure in Active Directory. So you don't want one specific user account's email ID to be something like 20 characters, and another user's email ID to be something like first name dot last name dot middle name. So you want that to be uniform. So we are going to see how to maintain uniformity in the naming formats of your user accounts. And the next thing is we'll also see how to set or how to make a specific attribute as mandatory without extending the Active Directory schema. That's the important part here. So we are not going to touch the Active Directory schema, but still we can set an attribute as mandatory in your Active Directory infrastructure. All right. And then whenever we talk about user account provisioning in Active Directory, there are chances of duplicates. For instance, you create a user account on day 1 and the name of the user is John Smith. So the email address will be something like john.smith@domain.com, and day 2 you create another user account with the same name, and instead of dealing with duplicates in a reactive way, we are going to have a look at dealing with duplicates in a proactive manner. So we'll see how to deal with duplicates in the session as well. So it's all about user provisioning, and it's all about how to effectively at the same time create user accounts with minimal effort. All right, so without any further delay, let me dive into today's workshop. So for those of you who have a test lab in your environment, I would request you to use the test lab and then perform the actions that I'm doing, so the session would be much more interesting for you. For those of you who do not have a test setup, do not worry, I'm going to share the test setup that we have hosted online. So I would request you to have a look at your chat windows on your screen. So I'm just going to share the URL in order to access the test installation and the credentials as well. So here we go. So this is going to be the URL, which is http://admp.cloudapp.net. So I've shared the URL through the chat window, and the credentials, the username is going to be ADMP. I've shared that as well. That's going to be all in lowercase, and the password is going to be workshop with W capitalized. All right, and the most important part is if you have a look at the Logon 2, please make sure that you select AD Manager plus authentication and not workshop. All right, so once again, the username is ADMP, the password is workshop with W capitalized, and Logon 2 is going to be AD Manager plus authentication. All right, so if at all of you have any questions pertaining to the topic that we are discussing today, or if you have some issues hearing my voice or my accent or whatever it is, please make sure to use the chat window to let me know so that I'll do my best to correct the mistakes. Okay, let me quickly log in. I hope you have logged in already. So as soon as I log into AD Manager Plus, you all know that we will be welcomed by the product dashboard. So this dashboard gives me an overview about my Active Directory infrastructure, as in number of users, number of inactive, disabled, and the same stats for computers and groups and OUs as well. All right. So you know that the application has a lot more to offer than managing Active Directory. So it has a reporting functionality which has close to 200 reports, and then you have an option to securely delegate tasks to other users in your Active Directory structure through AD delegation, and you have workflow, which is a request and approve methodology. So if you don't want users to be performing actions in Active Directory, instead you want them to raise requests, and you as administrators review the request and then approve them. So if you'd like to implement a workflow for Active Directory, you can do it using the feature right here, workflow. And who would not like to automate crucial tasks in Active Directory, something like cleaning up Active Directory or even creating accounts in Active Directory? So that can be done using the automation feature in the application. So we will be discussing about all these features in the forthcoming sessions, and we have dedicated workshops for every feature that you see here. All right. And for now, for today's workshop, we are going to focus on the AD Management tab, AD-MGMT. And to be more specific, within AD Management, we are going to focus on user provisioning here. So how do you create an account in Active Directory, and how do you create multiple accounts in Active Directory with ease? And at the same time, make sure that all the attributes are populated exactly the way you want. All right. So let's start the first task here. We are going to create one account in Active Directory to start with. All right, so where do I go to create just one simple account in Active Directory? So I go to AD Management, I go to User Management, and then create single user. All right. So I go to the create single user layout, and the layout is going to be pretty simple. As I said, you have all the attributes covered here, unlike the native tools. So I'm just going to start with, I just type the first name and the last name of the user account, and that's it. So I'm pretty sure that you might have noticed something. So soon after I just keyed in the first name and last name, the logon name, the pre-Windows logon name, the full name, display name, and even the email attribute got auto-populated. And how did that happen? So the auto-population of attributes happens based on the template that we have within the application. So I'll be talking about the template in a short while, so please bear with me until then. So the template is responsible for auto-populating the other naming attributes and other fields for your Active Directory accounts. All right, so let's explore the creation option a bit more. So that's about the General tab. Now if I go to the Account tab, now the Account tab is where I can set the password for the user accounts in Active Directory. So I just type a password and I confirm it. Alright, so the password that I type in, I need to make sure that the password meets my domain password policy requirement. So if your domain password policy requires you to type a password that has one uppercase and then a special character and a number, so you need to make sure that you abide by the domain password policy and then key in the password. So we have 4 options for setting a password. So you can go with the random password, which the application would generate, and you can even set the password complexity for those passwords generated by the application. So that's option number 1. Option 2 is the traditional way of setting a password. You just type a password and confirm it. Option 3 is you can leave the password to be the same as the user's logon name, and if that is okay with you. And the last option is leave the password as blank. Now, even though this is going to be a much easier option, I would recommend you not to go with the 4th option for obvious reasons. So given the number of insider attacks, and we have seen a drastic increase in the number of insider attacks in the recent days. So it's always better to have some sort of verification technique in place. So at least the traditional way of setting or verifying a user's identity is through a password. So I just go with type a password. All right. And the next thing is account properties. So you have options to set all account related properties while provisioning user accounts. All right. So if you are just typing a common password here, and if you want the user to log in with the common password, but make sure that the user customizes the password or changes the password after the first successful logon attempt, you better check the box right here, which is user must change password at next logon. So the user will be logging with the common password, but they will be prompted to change the password as soon as they log into the system so that they can change their password and personalize it. All right. And if you want the password to never expire, you can even set that. And the same holds good for account expiry as well. So by default, this account is set to never expire. And if you are creating accounts for contract employees and you feel that the account of the contract employees should expire by the end of 2016, you can just go ahead and specify the end date here or the expiration date. So you just go to end of and you pick and choose the date from the calendar and then you set it. All right. And not only that, you have a very important option if you want the user to be a member of 5 different security groups for various reasons. So how do you add them to groups? Very simple. You just hit the edit sign and then you have a pop-up window with 2 columns here, available groups and the selected groups. So by default, the user is just a member of the domain users group. And if you'd like to add a couple of more security groups for this user account, just go ahead and select the groups that you want this user to be a member of. Bring it to the other side, hit OK. As simple as that. You can even include a logon script or define a profile path and even set home folders along with permissions while creating user accounts. And the home folder can be defined in the local path or in the network path as well. All right. And if you don't want this specific user account to be logging onto specific file servers, you feel that the file servers and the domain controllers are only for the top level admins. If you don't want this domain user to be logging into all those servers, so how do you restrict the logon activity is, so by default this user account is allowed to log into all computers, and if you don't want that to happen, then select the following computers. So you can just select the computers that the user should have access to. So if it's just going to be 2 or 3 PCs, you just type the name of the PCs and then separate them with commas. So as simple as that. And in case of any financial sectors, let's say banking sectors or government sectors, if you don't want certain employees to be logging in to your Active Directory structure after the business hours, so how do you restrict them? you have it right here, Logon hours. So you just hit the Logon hours, and then the ones that you see in green are going to be the logon allowed hours. And if you'd like to restrict, let's say, login activity after 6 p.m. on, so let's say on Mondays and Wednesdays. So how do you do that? So you have the time right here after 6. So this is how you restrict. And the ones that are grayed out are going to be the restricted hours for the user account. So this is how you set the logon hours for the user account in AD. And if you go to the contact tab, right? So if you go to the contact tab has all contact related information from where you can define the title, department, company, and even set a manager attribute for this user account. All right. And now comes the most important part. Exchange. So if you have Exchange in your organization, and if you'd like to enable a mailbox for this user account as and when you create an AD account, so you just go to mailbox enable user. All you need to do is just choose the mail server and the mail store. So as you can see here, the mail alias and the simple display name is already populated. And if you're wondering how this was populated, as I told you, the template does most of the auto population part. So you as an administrator just need to type the first name and the last name and define the Exchange mail server and store and with the group membership and hit create. That's it. So the user account creation will be over within a matter of seconds. So that's how easy the application is. And when I say user account provisioning, I'm talking about Exchange, I'm talking about Link, and I'm talking about Office 365 provisioning in one stretch. All right. So you can define any attribute pertaining to Exchange from this console. So if you just scroll down, you have storage limit, proxy mail IDs, from wherein you can define the SMTP addresses for user accounts. And if you'd like to impose any delivery restrictions on the mailboxes, yes, you can do that as well. And if you have any policies that you'd like to map, Exchange policies that you'd like to map for this specific user account, you can map the policies from this console as well. And if you'd like to impose any other restrictions like OMA or OWA restrictions, you can do so from this console. So think about anything pertaining to Exchange, you can define those attributes from this console. All right. And the same holds good for Link as well. So if you'd like to enable Link for your user accounts, you can do so from this console. So if you have link servers, the link servers will be detected. You can define the zip URI format and the line URI format and then hit create. So I was talking about Office 365 provisioning as well. So by default, we are trying to create an Active Directory account. Now, if you would like to create an Office 365 account using the application, all you need to do is just select the checkbox which reads Office 365. That's it. And if you go to Office 365, you have three options. So don't create an Office 365. Create an Office 365 with DirSync enabled. So DirSync is something that syncs your on-premise accounts to the cloud. So, or create an account in Office 365 without DirSync. All right. And you also have an option to assign licenses while you create accounts in Office 365. All right. So let's just go ahead and try creating an account. So I hit create. Now, as soon as I hit create, the application is trying to talk to your domain controllers and then setting all the attributes that we have defined. And as you can see here, the user account creation was done within a matter of seconds. And trust me, you are not only creating an AD account, you are enabling Exchange, you are enabling Link or Skype, and you are enabling Office 365 as well. So this is much more easier when compared to toggling between multiple windows using the native tools. So when you are doing the same with the native tools, you first create an Active Directory account and then you open up the Exchange Management Console in order to create a mailbox, and then you open up the Link console in order to enable Link. And if you are going to create an Office 365 account for the same user, you enable another console. So we are talking anywhere between 2 to 4 consoles for creating one simple Active Directory account. So in order to avoid all that, you can use this layout that we have within AD Manager Plus. So once again, you go to AD Management, User Management, Create Single User. All right. Now this is a very simple process. We all know that we can create user accounts. So how do you create user accounts in bulk? That's the most important part, and that's the core of today's session. So how do you provision user accounts in bulk? So before promising you something that uh, user account provisioning in bulk is going to be much more easier with AD Manager Plus, let me give you a sample about the options that we have in the native tools or the Microsoft has given to us. So you have it right here. Okay. Now, the notepad that you are seeing on the screen right now has a script, a sample script for bulk user provisioning in Active Directory. And I'm pretty sure that some of you are having a headache right now just by having a look at the script. Because if you are going to miss a punctuation somewhere, so if you just add a dot or if you add an additional an extra character somewhere by mistake, and if you are going to execute this script, and in order for you to successfully execute the script, it's going to take at least 15 minutes. And let's talk about enabling Exchange. Let's talk about enabling Office 365 and Lync. So we add a few more lines of code to the same script, which is just going to make things even more complicated. So you don't want to go through all this in order to create accounts in Active Directory. So we are talking about 10 accounts here, or we are talking about 15 accounts here, and it's no joke. So in order to avoid all these complexities, we are going to use two important things in AD Manager Plus for creating user accounts in bulk. And what are those two things? So we are going to create a CSV file and we are going to create a template. So in order to provision user accounts in bulk, we need two things, CSVs and templates. So let's get started here. So let's build a very simple CSV file. Let's assume that you tell the HR to create a CSV file. So as soon as they recruit employees, you want them to create a very simple CSV file with just 3 attributes and then give it to you so that you can provision user accounts in Active Directory. Isn't that simple? Yes, definitely. So let's get started here. So how do you create CSV files, or how does a CSV file actually look like? All right, so I've created a sample CSV file for you. Now the header, we just have 3 simple headers. So we have given name, SN, password. So below which you have the values. Let's assume that you have 5 user accounts that you need to create in Active Directory. Just go ahead and type the name of the user accounts below. So you just go one below the other. So that's how simple it is in order to create user accounts using CSV files. And wait a minute. So this is not something that we use on a daily basis. So we have something called given name, we have something SN, and we have another attribute password. So I know what password is, but what is given name and SN? And why are they in a specific format? So why is N capitalized here in name? So is this a defined format or is this a standard? Yes, it is. So by importing or by creating a CSV file, the whole idea here is we are trying to import the CSV file to AD Manager Plus and then in turn create user accounts in Active Directory. So when you want this CSV file or when you want AD Manager Plus to talk to your Active Directory infrastructure, we need to make sure that we talk to the domain controllers in a language that they understand. So for instance, instead of given name, I type first name, and instead of SN, I type last name because that's the attribute that we're trying to populate. And password, I just go with password. Now if I try to import a CSV file with first name, last name and password as headers, and if I expect to create user accounts in Active Directory, I'm going to be disappointed. The reason is first name, last name and password are going to be the attributes from the user's perspective, or the attributes that the user understands. So the attributes that the Ldap, or the domain controller understands, is going to be, or they should be in Ldap format. So this format is known as Ldap, and the headers should be in Ldap format. So where would I get the Ldap mappings for the attributes that I am planning to populate? That would be the first question that you're going to ask me. Do not worry, we have everything covered in the help document in a detailed manner. All right. So if you need to find out the exact mappings for first name and last name, exact Ldap mappings for first name and last name, you can very well go to the help link in the top right corner. So I want you all to click on the help link. So you go to the help link, and then a new HTML file opens. So this help document has everything pertaining to the application. So if you have any doubts pertaining to any feature in the application, the first place that you want to go to is the help document, because you have everything clearly documented. Of course, we do have a voice support as well, and that's 24/5. But the first point of help will always be the help document. Alright, so now we are looking for a reference document that has the exact mapping of the names in Active Directory and its respective Ldap attributes. So where do I get that from? So you have something called CSV import. You go to CSV import, and the first link is create users using CSV. So you go to create users using CSV, and then you have something named list of Ldap attributes supported by AD Manager Plus. So you open the document. So this is the document that I was talking about. Alright, so you have two columns, name in Active Directory and the respective Ldap headers, the ones that you should be using in the CSV file as headers. So if you are trying to populate the first name of the user account through a CSV file, so please make sure that you type the header as given name. So that's exactly what I've done here. So instead of first name, I've typed in given name. And if you are trying to populate the last name of user accounts in Active Directory, and you better type the SN, because that's the header, that's the format that the domain controllers are going to understand. And you have the same mapping for almost any attribute that you can think of. If you just scroll down, so you have Ldap mappings for department, title, home folders, let's say city, password, telephone number, description. So just think about any attribute, you have its Ldap mapping right here. Alright, so we are not going to complicate the process of user provisioning by keying in multiple headers here. We're just going with the basic attributes. So let's assume that the HR creates the CSV file. Instead of the HR typing, let's say 10 attributes, which they might not be doing in practical cases. So you just tell them to type, or you can create a very simple CSV file with just 3 headers and ask them to type the values of the user account. For instance, the first name, last name, and the password. All right, and then give it to you so that you can take care of the user provisioning part. So let me quickly save the CSV file. So the first name of the user is going to be David, and the last name is going to be Cameron, and the password is going to be password@123. All right. So let's just go ahead and try importing the CSV file. So I told you that there are 2 important things that we need to know about in order to create user accounts in Active Directory. So the first step is creating a CSV file, and the second step is creating a template. So I'll get to the template in a short while. So first, let's just create a user account, or let's create a bulk users with the help of CSV files, and let's see how it goes. So now that I've saved the CSV file with 3 simple attributes, I go to create bulk users. So we already tried creating 1 user account, and now we are going to try creating user account in bulk with a CSV file. Create bulk users. All right. So if I go to create bulk users, I have an option to import the CSV file that we just created. So import, and then if you have doubts or if you need a reference CSV file, you have it right here. So sample CSV. So you can very well use the reference CSV file. All right. So let's import the CSV file. Choose file. All right. CSV for user creations. Note that the format of the file is going to be .csv and it's not txt or any other format, because I need to make sure that the file is saved with a .csv extension. All right, so open, I hit OK. So now the importing phase is happening and a validation phase is also taking place. So that's the best part with AD Manager Plus. So let's assume that you import a CSV file with some spaces in between that you are not aware of. And the application is smart enough to sense such human errors and then show up the errors in the validation phase. So while you import the CSV file, a validation of the CSV file will take place, and then if there are any errors or any typos in the CSV file, you will be notified. So now that I don't have any warnings here, which I'll be seeing in the form of a red exclamation mark, so I think that the CSV import is done. But you might have noticed something really additional, something additional right here. So for instance, the CSV file just had 3 attributes: first name, last name, password. But wait a minute. So you have the first name, you have last name, but from where did the user principal name get populated? From where did the SAM account name get populated? You have the display name here, and you have the full name, the mail attribute. All right. So the other attributes or the additional attributes that you see here were populated based on the default layout, or in other words, the default template that is selected. You can always define a template or load your template if you have created one. So if you have a specific template, you can load the template just by hitting the change link here. So you just go to change, and then you choose the template that you'd like to apply for this specific user account. For now, I'm just going with the default layout here, and I'll be talking more about the templates in a short while, how to customize the layout and the naming formats. So let's just try creating an account. So the first step is I import the CSV file, and I make sure that there are no errors. So if there are any errors, I get a red exclamation here. So now that I don't have the red exclamation, I'm all good to go. So I just hit next. So as soon as I hit next, I need to choose an OU in which I'd like to create the user account. All right, so this is the OU structure or the tree structure of my Active Directory domain. And now I'm going to create an account in the employees OU. So I just hit create users. Alright, so now the application is again trying to contact your domain controllers. It's using all the Ldap values that we have specified in the CSV, and there you go. So we are done with user account provisioning with just a couple of seconds. So that's how powerful the application is. At least it is more powerful than and easy than this. I hope you agree with me. So instead of using complex scripts, we just use a very simple CSV file with just 3 attributes, and you just key in the attributes here and you import the attributes within AD Manager Plus, and you create an AD account, enable Exchange, enable Link, enable Office 365 within a matter of seconds. So that's how you can use AD Manager Plus and create accounts in Active Directory effectively. All right. So now let's talk about templates. So the most important part about templates is the templates basically help maintain uniformity all across the domain. If you are going to create user accounts in Active Directory, you better use the template so that it saves a lot of time for you, and it also allows you to define the exact attributes that you'd like to populate for your user accounts in AD. So let's get started. So how do you create a template? So you go to AD management, you go to user management, and then you go to user creation templates. So you have templates for creating user accounts and also for modifying user accounts. So we'll be talking about user modification templates in the next workshop, which is next week. So first, user creation templates. So you can create any number of templates as you want. So we have no restrictions in the number of templates that you can create using the application. So for instance, you have 4 templates now that I've already created. So let's build a template. So I go to create. Alright, so now I'm going to create a template. So I want you to try the same as well. So you can just try importing the template and let's see how it goes. I'm just going to give this template a name. So I'm just going to name it as AU Workshop. All right. So what are the features that are available in the template? So we saw that the default system template was able to populate few other attributes, even though the CSV file had just 3 attributes. So how do you define the format for the other attributes that the template has? So you name the template. And then if you'd like to apply this template for AD account provisioning as well as Office 365 account provisioning, all you need to do is just select the Office 365 checkbox. That's it. Now the layout is going to be very similar to the one that we saw while creating an account in Active Directory through AD Manager Plus. So the layout is pretty much simple and you have few additional options in this layout. And what are those? So you have an option to maintain uniformity in the naming attributes. For instance, if you want the logon name of your user accounts to be something like first name dot last name at domain.com. So how do you define a format? You just hit the drop-down box and you search for the format. There you go. First name dot last name. All right. So if you'd like to preview how the format would look like, so you have it right here. So assuming that the first name of the user is John and the last name is Smith, the format that we have applied will be something like this: john.smith at domain.com. Or if you'd like to change it to a different format, so you want something like last name dot first name, so smith.john at domain.com. Or if you have any specific naming format already in place, and if you'd like to create your own naming format that you don't see here in the list, you can always create your own custom format by going to the link here. So create your own naming format. So you can create your format something like first initial, the entire last name at domain.com. So this is one option that template allows you to do. So create your own naming formats. For now, I'm just going with first name dot last name. So I can do the same for any naming attribute that you see here in this layout. So I want the logon name, which is the SAM account name, to be something like first name dot last name. I'd like the same to be my full name format and display name format as well. So I can even change the format for my email accounts as well. All right. And if I'm going to create a template for the IT department, or another template for the finance department, and another one for the sales department, now all this is going to be a one-time creation. You just create a template once with all the attributes and the naming formats that you want, and you use this template for creating any number of user accounts. So instead of you populating the values manually, all you need to do is just type the first name and the last name of the user account and then hit create. So you will be creating Exchange, Office 365, and any attribute that you'd like using, within a few seconds using the template. All right. Now the first option is defining uniform naming formats. And let's say you already have a user account in your Active Directory structure. So if you are building a template for the IT department, all right, so if you already have a user within the IT department with the exact properties that you want, exact group membership, naming format, so how do you copy the properties of an existing user? You have it right here. So copy user attributes saves you a lot of time. So instead of you defining the formats, if you'd like to copy an existing user and then apply all those properties in this template, you just go to copy user attributes, and this pop-up window gives you the list of all the user accounts in your Active Directory structure. Alright, so you just pick and choose the user account that you are trying to copy. So let's say admin IT India, and you have a small symbol right here, select attributes. You just pick and choose the attributes that you'd like to copy to the template. So whether it's the general, account, contact, or terminal service. So you just select the attributes that you'd like to copy and hit OK, and you have the copied values as a preview right here, and the minute you hit apply, all the values that you'd like to copy will be applied in the template. So this is one option. Alright, so now coming to the most important part here. You will be delegating this template to your IT technicians. You will be delegating it to your help desk, to your HR, and the layout needs to be customizable because the HR need not have access to all these tabs. Instead, the HR just needs to have access to the general and maybe the account tab and maybe the contact tab as well to fill in all the telephone numbers and the street address and home address, but definitely not Exchange, not terminal service, not Skype or link or custom attributes. So how do you customize this layout for different roles in your Active Directory structure? Let's say for HR, for help desk. So how do you customize this? The option is right here, enable drag and drop. So you just go to enable drag and drop. And if you feel that the Exchange attribute is not required and you're going to delegate this template to the HR, so you delete the entire tab. Alright, it's gone from the layout. And if you'd like to do the same for link or Skype, you delete the entire tab. Now, wait a minute. If you don't want to delete the entire tab, instead you would like to delete a specific attribute within this layout, for instance the web page, you delete. So any attributes or any tab that you delete from this layout is not deleted forever. It will be placed in the field tray in the left hand side. And if you'd like to bring this back to the layout, it's very simple. Just drag and then drop it. And that's it. So you have it right here in the layout. So this is, apart from the customization, or I'm sorry, from maintaining uniform naming format and copying user attributes to the template, you can even customize this layout. So these are the features available within the application, available within the template. And let's assume that you have a specific ID or specific attribute in your Active Directory infrastructure, and you would like to make sure that the helpless technician fills the attribute, but the attribute is not a mandatory one in Active Directory. So how do you make a non-mandatory attribute in AD as mandatory without extending the schema? That's the very important part here, because you don't want to extend your schema just to make a very simple attribute as mandatory. So how do you do that? You have an option to make an attribute as mandatory. So you hit edit, and you have an option right here, mandatory, and hit done. So as you might have noticed, so it was the employee ID was in black font earlier, now it's in red, which means we have now made an attribute as mandatory using the user creation templates. And the very important part to note here is we have not touched your Active Directory schema. Why do you need to make an attribute as mandatory? Is there a requirement for that? Yes, definitely. For instance, if you have a script in your Active Directory structure that you would like to trigger, or that you'd like to see trigger as soon as the user creation is over, and if that script is based on any attribute in your Active Directory structure, you better make sure that the attribute is not empty. And how do you ensure that? You set the attribute, the important attribute, as mandatory. All right. So you set an attribute as mandatory, you copy an existing user's property to the template, you customize the layout, and then you save the template. Alright, so now we have successfully created a template, and I've named the template as IT. So now that we have created a template, how do you invoke this template within the CSV file? Because we are going to use the CSV file and we are going to import the CSV file within AD Manager Plus. So how would I invoke templates? All right. So let me just go ahead and change the name of the user account here. So in order to invoke a template from within a CSV file, all you need to do is just add an additional header, which is template name. All right. And I've already created a template, so I'm just going to use that. The name of the template is workshop. As you can see right here, I've already created a template that I'm going to use in the CSV file. And what if I have another user account just below, and the user account, the second user account is going to be a member of the IT department, and the third user account is going to be a part of the sales department. So can I invoke different templates for different users? Yes, you can. So if you have another user account, just type the name of the user account here. All right, and then you just type the password and you just invoke the template. So if you have another template, you can invoke it in the same way. So this is how you invoke multiple templates or templates for different user accounts. So let me quickly save, and let's try importing the CSV file. Now we first imported a CSV file with just 3 attributes, and now that we have created a template with all the customizations that we want, with the naming formats, with the configurations, we are going to invoke the template using the same CSV file. All right. I go to AD Management, and then I go to User Management, Create User Accounts in Bulk. All right, so now we are going to import a CSV file. So import, choose file, CSV for user creation. Now this has an additional header, which is the template name. Open, and I hit OK. So as you can see here, a validation phase is happening right now, and if there are any errors in the CSV file, I'd be getting a red exclamation here. So I don't have any errors. So as you can see, we just populated 4 attributes in the CSV file, which is first name, last name, and password, and maybe the template. And the CSV file has, right now I have populated the other attributes for the user account. So I have the first name here, last name, user principal name, SAM account name, and even the group membership that we have defined in the template. It's right here. All right. So we have all the attributes that we'd like to create, even the exchange attribute. That's great. So now let's just try creating user accounts. So I just hit create users, and if you have created a CSV file with, let's say, 10 user accounts, user provisioning of 10 accounts, the time taken for creating or provisioning 10 accounts should be less than a minute. So this again is definitely more easier to do than this. All right. So now we have successfully created user accounts in Active Directory with the help of a CSV file and a template. And we have seen what are the features available in the template as well. So that brings us to the end of today's workshop. Just a quick recap. So this was the first workshop, and we saw how to create accounts in Active Directory with a CSV file, and then we saw how to provision AD, Exchange, Office 365, and Link account all in a single stretch from a single window without having to toggle between multiple windows or using complex scripts. And then we saw how to standardize the naming formats for users across the organization. We saw that in the template. And we also saw how to make any attribute as mandatory without extending the Active Directory schema that was in the template as well, and dealing with duplicate accounts. All right. So how do you deal with duplicate accounts using the templates? So in order to deal with duplicate accounts, we are talking about dealing with duplicate accounts in a proactive manner rather than being reactive. So you have an option in the template as well. So how do you do that? You edit a template. So let's assume that I'm just going to use the template that we already created. And if you create a user account, let's say David John, the first day, and if you're going to create the same user account, and if you want the application to proactively deal with duplicate accounts, you just go to enable drag and drop. And let's say I'm just going to check for duplicates for the SAM account name. You have it right here. Check for duplicates in the domain level or in the forest level. And here you have three ways of dealing with duplicates. You can apply a different naming format, or you can simply append numbers, or don't create a user account in AD. Alright, so you have these many features in the template. I would request you to just play with the template and explore all the options. And if at all, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to get in touch with us. I mean, a video of this session will be available online, and the link will be shared with you, and a feedback mailer will also be sent to you, and we are looking for more feedbacks in order to improve our sessions. So please, I would request you to spend a minute or two in order to fill the feedback mailers and then send it across to us so that we can improve workshops, improve our forthcoming workshops. And if you have any specific topic in mind that you'd like us to cover during these workshops, please let us know. We'd be happy to do that as well. So thank you very much for your time. Once again, you all have a nice evening. Bye-bye.